Cricket Love Stories with me, Neel Khagram, and today we're joined by Anthony McGrath. Anthony, really appreciate your time today.
No problem.
So let's take it all the way back. Born in Bradford, was cricket always a passion of yours?
Yeah, I come from quite a sporty family, so my two brothers played local clubs, so I didn't have much choice. I was up there watching them, and particularly my middle brother Dermot, he played a lot of cricket, so I spent my early years with mum and dad watching Dermot, and then really got the cricketing bug from probably 5 or 6 years old, and from there, I always tended to be playing, particularly in the summer.
So what was your local club back home?
Bankfoot, which plays in the Bradford League. Started actually at a club next to my house called Muffield, but Bradford, the Bradford League's probably the higher of the standards, so I kind of went up there and played for the under-12s from 6 years old.
So your brother Damien, I believe, your younger brother, played rugby league?
My eldest brother.
So he's the eldest brother, sorry.
So he played rugby league, that's right, and then he went into coaching. He's still coaching now, he's coaches sevens.
That never took your fancy?
No, too soft for rugby. Yeah, I mean, my other brother Dermot and Damien both played football as well. Damien, as you say, got into rugby, but I tended to play more cricket and football as well. So rugby was for more watching for me rather than playing.
And in terms of your talent being spotted by Yorkshire, at what age level did you get picked? Did you go through the trials that you set up?
Yeah, I played for Bradford Boys, Bradford Schools, and then got invited to Yorkshire trials. So I think Yorkshire under 13s was probably the first, so going to trials there, 11 or 12, and got picked there through the school system. And
then you made your debut for Yorkshire in 1995.
Yep.
How old were you then?
18, I think I was then.
Proud moment?
Yeah, and it was actually at Bradford Park Avenue, so in my home city. Yorkshire don't play there anymore, but I remember that being a really proud day, especially for family and friends who all came down to watch. Probably came a little bit sooner than expected. I think there were an injury, and I've been in good form in the second team, so I got put into the team, and I think I played about 4 or 5 games that year.
I said your form must have been good, because a year later you got picked for England A, captained by Nasser Hussain.
That's right.
How was that in terms of at the age of 19 you get representative honours? Do you feel you were ready at the time?
I think in there, going back to them days, they always picked a couple of surprise younger players. I think myself and my first one was Pakistan, but the year later we went to Australia, and I think Oais Shah was one of the younger batters, played with Michael Vaughan. But the Pakistan tour, which Nasser captained, it was a surprise, as you say, because I'd only played 5 first-class games, so I remember getting the call saying I was going out to Pakistan. I didn't really know most of the players. I only knew Craig White and Richard Stemp, who played for Yorkshire. So I was a little bit nervous going, how were I going to fit in, how were I going to cope, but it was a great experience, to tour Pakistan. Played all over the country over there, and the players we played with, as you say, Nasser Hussain, Ronnie Irani, Jason Gallion, Tim Munton, a lot of players who'd got international experience, so it was a really good tour for me.
And a word on Nasser, was he a natural captain back then?
Yeah, I mean, Nasser was obviously at that point, a very experienced player, but he had a great deal of authority. I always found, Nasser really good to play for. You knew where you stood with him. He could be pretty blunt at times, but very fair. And for someone who was young, he was really good with me. He was a good captain. And
then back home in the Yorkshire side, that period between 96 and the early 2000s, how do you think your form went?
It was tough, really. I had a good first couple of years, and then I really struggled for consistency. As you say, I had a couple of tours with England A, but my Yorkshire form struggled. I could really find a position in the batting order where I was getting consistent runs. Particularly late 90s, I were in and out of the team a little bit, so struggled for form. So it was a bit of a difficult time, but I think that served me well, certainly for the early 2000s, the rest of my career, because I really then found some consistency.
So did you see yourself as a batsman or an all-rounder?
Batsman.
I asked the question because in 2002, I know you got picked for England in 2003, but a year before that, you actually, I was reading some statistics that you had the best average bowling-wise in the Yorkshire side. Is this something you were just continually working on, just honing your skills, and it just happened?
It's probably because I were in and out of the team, and I have probably spent quite a lot of time practicing. It's not something I really did as a youngster bowl, but I bowled in the nets and then just got a chance in a game really, and managed to take a couple of wickets. And I think the bowling kind of came at a nice time because it just gave me took a bit of pressure off the batting in particular. And probably from that stage, 2002 onwards, kind of came on and were a partnership breaker really. Just gave the main bowlers a bit of a breather, and I managed to pick up some important wickets.
And then in 2003, you got made captain of Yorkshire. Touching on that to start with, a surprise, an honour, something that you actually had ambitions for? Or?
It came again a little bit early. I think I was 27. There was quite a few changes at the club going on. I think I'd had a good couple of seasons.
What do you mean change? Was it when that Darren Lehman was moving out?
David Byas left, who'd been captain for a long time. The club was going through a bit of a change. Colin Graves came in and bought the club, so it changed kind of from a committee-based run club. So there were quite a lot of off-field changes and on-field changes. We had an influx of different players. So again, it was a great honour to be captain, especially at a youngest age. But really that year I then got picked for England, so I wasn't around too much. It was kind of obviously great to get picked for England and something that I had an ambition to do, but the captaincy kind of took a back step because I wasn't really there.
And then when the call came that you've been picked for England, how did it make you feel?
Amazing, really. To be honest, when I got the call, I thought it was a bit of a joke. I thought it was one of the guys, playing a prank and winding me up. But I think it was David Graveney who called. We were playing at Northampton, and we were rained off actually. And I got a call to say I'd been picked in for the first test against Zimbabwe. So
at Lords.
At Lords as well. And captained by Nasser as well. Nasser was still captain. So I remember travelling down with Michael Vaughan actually for the first test. And just really an exciting week, the build-up. You've always wanted to play for your country. Home of cricket, as we've mentioned, Lords. It was just a very special week, and it just seemed an age till the game kind of came. It was on the Thursday, I think we started, and it just seemed to take an eternity for the game to start. So, but really, special time. And
you performed as well. You got a 50 on your debut, 3 wickets in 6 overs, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. 69 I think I got first innings. We won the game, which is always the most important, so it was a pleasing start really. Then on to the next game.
You got another bat, you got another 50, didn't you?
Yeah, so I'd started pretty well, and I felt as though I kind of could do it at that level.
I want to say that getting those earlier scores, did it instill belief in yourself?
Yeah, definitely.
That you could perform at that level?
Yeah, I think the only disappointment was I think 69 and 80 odd in my first 2 innings was not going and getting a big 100 really, which would probably bought me a little bit more time in the team. So that was slightly disappointing, but I still felt in the first couple of innings that I'd acquitted myself quite well.
And then having performed in the first 2 games, do you feel you deserved a longer run in the side? You got the next 2 test matches against South Africa. Yeah. But it can happen to any batsman, a couple of low scores, and you find yourself out of the team. Yeah,
I think the first test against South Africa got 30 odd and wasn't playing too bad. And then it was the last test, Lords, we got bowled out cheaply in the first innings. South Africa got a big score, and then we lost quite easily in the end. So, at the time, I felt it was quite harshly treated.
Yeah, how do it make you feel? That was a time again when the England captaincy was changing hands. Yeah. So do you think that had a little part to play in it, or do you just look at yourself?
No, just look at yourself really. I mean, obviously South Africa were a better team than Zimbabwe, so I guess people were looking at that. But I felt at the time, only 4 tests, I think 5 innings. I didn't bat both times against Zimbabwe. I felt I deserved probably more than 5 innings to show what I could do, but as you know, in sport, it's about selectors' opinions and so on, and they decided to go with someone else. And from there, it was just a matter of trying to keep my form good with Yorkshire and hopefully get back in there, but it wasn't to be.
In parallel, you also did play 14 one-day internationals for England. In terms of what was a better suit for yourself, the longer form of the game?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think I'd argue about being left out of the one-day side. I played, as you say, 14 times.
Got 1.5 century.
Yeah, I didn't really find a place in the batting order. Other players were playing well. I batted ranging from, I think, 3 up to like 7. And it never really came in the one day. So I didn't really have too much of a worry about being left out there. I should have performed better with the chances I had. But I think on the flip side, the test side, I could have made an argument for, look, I've only batted 5 times and averaging 40 or whatever it was, give me a few more tests. So I think test cricket probably suited me more than the one days.
And you said you must have also then had a burning ambition to get back into the team. So you've gone away to Yorkshire. You had a very fruitful season in 2006. Scored, I think, over 1,000 championship runs. The call never came again. Was communication had between the captain, England captain, the selectors, with yourself?
No, not really. I mean, I think when you're kind of left out, to get back in, it's a kind of unwritten rule. You just get as many runs or wickets as you can, and then hopefully you catch the selector's eye. So I didn't really get any communication from the England selectors. But I think at that stage, 2005, 6, 7, England were playing some really good cricket. They won the Ashes back in 2005, and the batsmen were coming in were doing really well. So you just had to keep your form as good as you could, and hopefully, try and get another chance. But as we've said, that never really happened.
And then back in Yorkshire, how was that period for yourself? I know there was a few contractual issues, debates going on. Did it unsettle you?
No,
from a playing perspective?
Not really. I think my form were pretty good. Again, we'd gone through a bit of a tough period as a team. We weren't really winning as much as we should have done. A few players were leaving. Darren Lehman left. Michael Lum had gone. A few others. So at that time, I was coming towards the end of my contract, and I just felt that we'd taken our eye off the ball from a cricketing perspective. And kind of wanted to explore what else was out there. So that was the kind of issue around the contract, but pretty quickly, within a few months, things changed at the club.
Darren Gough came back. Martin Moxon came from Durham. We'd made some signings in Jason Gillespie, Eunice Khan, Jack Rudolph. So it kind of changed. So as soon as I knew that was happening, I wanted to stay, because it all boiled down to really the cricketing side. So fortunately, that did happen, and I extended my contract and stayed there, for the rest of my playing days. And then you became the captain again of the club in 2009?
Yeah, that's right.
So a second stint. Now, you only took the role there for 1 year. Can you just talk a little bit about that circumstance?
I'd kind of captained quite a bit before that, but in an unofficial capacity when Craig White had been captain and Darren Gough. So I guess it was natural, really, for me to take over. Officially in 2009, my batting really faded off the latter part of the year. Started really well, and I was getting to an age where I thought, we had got Andrew Gale coming through, who was going to be the next captain, and I just thought it was a good time to really step down. Even though I'd done it officially for just 1 year, I'd had captain quite a bit, as I'd said, and I just made the call. I remember sitting down with Martin Moxon, and we just chatted through, and I just thought it was best for the team to concentrate on batting and pass it on to someone else. So I guess bittersweet in a way, because you don't want to give up the captaincy, especially when it had been interrupted before. But I think you've got to look at what's best for the team and how to get the best kind of out of my batting, really. So that's how the decision came about.
and then in 2013, retirement. Injuries?
Yeah, I had a sciatic nerve problem in 2011, I think it was, which really hit me more than I thought it would do. I shouldn't have really played that season. I was in quite a lot of pain, so that had an effect. And then my last season, 2012, was a good one. We got promotion back to Division 1, but I'd been struggling with my thumb for a while as well, and it would come into a period where it were affecting not just games but playing as well. So again, you know, seeing the specialist, and really had to make a call, and unfortunately I couldn't really go on any further. So a good way to bow out in terms of getting promotion and back up to Division 1. But I think it was, you know, in hindsight, the right time to go.
So how did you cope with retirement? I know I've read a few articles going back that you've mentioned in some press articles that there was a slight void in your life. You played for Yorkshire from such a young age, one-man club, etc., all the way through, and then all of a sudden it's over. It
was tough. I mean, I think we see a lot now with sports people coming out, especially when they've been at one place for a long time, and you know, going back to signing professional at 16 and then, you know, being there for 20 years at one club, the routine that comes with training every day, being told where to be, part of a dressing room, part of a family really. For that to stop is quite hard to deal with, and it literally does stop the day you leave. So the first few months weren't too bad. It was actually the start of the next season when it kind of hits you. You're not a cricket anymore. And I remember getting invited to the first game of the next season, and you know, waking up that morning realising I wasn't going to be going to play. It was quite hard to take, and even though you try and plan as much as you can for when you finish, I think it's just a kind of shock to the system and mentally. You know, you're not part of this club anymore, even though you're still, you know, encouraged to go back. You've got to really focus on the next part of your life, and I think you've got to realise nothing's ever going to replace playing. It's just impossible with the highs, the lows, the adrenaline.
Camaraderie,
dressing room. So you've got to try and get to grips with it as soon as you can, really, and it affects all different parts of your life. You know, your family, your relationships, just your normal day-to-day stuff. So it did take me a while to get my head around it.
You did take on then a mentoring capacity at Yorkshire to aid players going through a similar situation. How did that role come about then?
Again, just with chats with the club. I was doing a little bit of media stuff, but I think, you know, through the PCA and the club, we just felt there were a void of when players get injured and they kind of feel on their own, getting left out of the team, retiring, finishing the contracts. It was just really for me to be someone there to speak to them who have been through, you know, quite a lot of them situations, to bridge that gap. So that's how it kind of came about. It wasn't really a formal position. It was just really, you know, if someone really needed to call on the end of the phone, go and meet for a coffee, etc. And then that kind of developed into going back coaching.
Yeah, and you said the coaching, 2016, Essex came calling. How did that come about? Chris Silverwood was the head coach.
Yeah, I'd just taken over. I'd coached at Yorkshire the previous 2 years on a part-time basis, and I kind of got the coaching bug really from when I started. It wasn't something I kind of aspired to, if I'm being honest, from when I played. But then when I got into coaching, I really enjoyed it. So I'd kind of got some experience through the Yorkshire age groups, and then second and first team with Yorkshire. And 2016, a position came for Essex batting coach, assistant coach. Silvers, who I'd played with at Yorkshire, had taken over as head coach, and he just rung up saying, "Do you fancy putting your CV in and coming for an interview?" So that's kind of how it all happened. Came down and interviewed in the room above, and then about a few weeks later got the call to say, "You've got the job."
and a successful partnership. Because in 2017, Essex win the County Championship.
Yeah, it's, you know, I've loved this is my 5th year here now. 2016 we got promoted to Division 2, and then I think we shocked everyone by winning Division 1 our first year up. So, you know, as I say, the 2 years I worked with Chris was superb. Learnt a lot, and we're getting well together. And I guess it was no surprise when England came calling for him, you know, as a bowling role, and he's gone on now to obviously be head coach. So yeah, looking back, they were good times.
And you said when he moved on to coach England, the chance came for you to become head coach of Essex. Did you feel ready?
Yeah, it was one of them where you don't really know till you do it. I mean, I'd been assistant for 2 years, know the club, knew the players, but it was one of them where you think, will the club try and go for someone more experienced for another couple of years, and then maybe I might get a chance. But again, when I got the call to say, would you do the job, I just thought I couldn't really turn it down. Great opportunity. As I say, knew the place, which helped. So yeah, I mean, I didn't think twice really. I had to chat through with family, but it was never going to be a no.
And then again, a very successful call that, because in 2019 you win the championship, you win the T20 Blast. A huge honour for yourself to lead the county.
Yeah, I mean, 2018 was we didn't win anything my first season, but I thought we did okay. We kind of acquitted ourselves well and just didn't get over the line. But last season was, yeah, amazing really. I mean, the players were superb. We were always up there with the championship. You know, after losing the first game, we were undefeated, so we're always in the running with Somerset. But the T20 was certainly a roller coaster. You know, the first part of the competition we were pretty poor, to put it mildly, and then we managed to put a run together. And you always want to be in positions come the end of the season to, you know, be in a position to win a trophy, and to be in a position to win 2 going into the last week of the season was a really great position to be in. But it brought a lot of pressure, I think, on everyone. You know, we knew going to finals day, 2 days later we go down to Taunton, top 2 teams head to head. It was always going to be an emotionally charged week, because you could come out of it with nothing, you know, and everyone would have been really deflated, or 2 trophies, and that's what we got. You know, the experience of finals day and playing as well as we did on the biggest stage, and then for the players to get back up for it down at Taunton and manage to get over the line down there was probably the best week I've had in cricket really. It was a brilliant week, even though it was a long week and everyone was really knackered after it. But
a word on that Somerset game. I know the majority of it was rained off on the last day.
Yeah.
When you got skittled out, how were the emotions?
Yeah, all over the place, to be honest. Because it rained for the majority, I mean, most people were saying, oh, you've done it now. I remember getting text messages saying, congratulations, you know, you're not going to play enough. And then within an hour, we've been bowled out. You're thinking, the way cricket's gone this year, you know, with the super over in the World Cup final and how the Ashes had gone, you're thinking, surely Somerset can't bowl us out in the next hour. So nerves were jangling, you know, for both players and coaches. But yeah, I think it was, you know, someone like Alastair going in there with all the experience he's got, to have him there. The players' spirit and character, I think, shone through really, even though it was going to be a long shot for Somerset to bowl you out. You just never know. So even though it was only 16 overs, it seemed like 666 overs, but we managed to get there.
And you said a word on Alastair Cook. I know a lot of your side that won the championship, there's a lot of consistency in selection from the team that won in 2017, but the addition of Alastair Cook, having retired from England, a massive help for you in terms of experience.
Yeah, and
average 45.
Yeah, I mean, look, his runs are obviously important, but when you've got, you know, someone who's scored that amount of runs, England's leading scorer in Test cricket, captain, very successful. When you have someone like that in the side, you know, the other players, you know, will just rub off him as well. He's got so much experience. He's such a calming influence in the dressing room and on the field. It's just such an asset to have, and we're very lucky to have him.
And then a word on the outgoing Ravi Bopara and Ryan Ten-Doeschate, who's now not the Red Bull captain for the upcoming season. A word on those two?
Yeah, Ravi first. I mean, it's a shame he's gone. Obviously, he's been at Essex all his career. In particular, last year, the way he played in T20, the last 7 or 8 games, he was absolutely unbelievable. Some of the innings, getting us over the line, both setting targets and chasing them down. His bowling as well is going to be severely missed. I know he's playing all the franchise cricket around the world, so it's something we're going to have to hopefully fill. It's going to be difficult to fill because he's a great player and a lot of experience. So sad to see him go, but I'm sure once he comes up against us, hopefully the lads will be trying to get one over him. But he's always welcome back here. And Ryan, I mean, he's been a superb captain. I mean, it was totally his decision to step down. He's been so successful, and a bit like Alastair, really. He's that type of guy. Everyone respects him. Everyone will follow him. His performances speak for themselves. And again, to have someone like him in the dressing room, the younger players in particular, to look up to how he trains, how he looks after himself. Hopefully, he'll play for another year or two, so we'll get his expertise in that side. But again, these are going to be big players when they do leave. The Alastair Cook and Ryan, as I said, Ravi's gone now, so we just got to hopefully they'll be with us for another couple of years and get the most out of them as we can.
And in terms of picking a new captain, I know Tom Wesley has now taken the reins for the upcoming season, but how does that actually come about? Give us a bit of insight into that.
Yeah, so last year we had 2 captains. Obviously Simon Harmer captained our T20 side, having Ryan captained all 3. I think Ryan, at the age he was, I think we knew he wasn't going to go on forever, so we thought that one of the competitions, it'd give us an idea or an insight into how another person would captain. Tom Wesley had been the club vice captain throughout, and when it came to the stage where Ryan were going to stand down, the call really was who's going to take over from Ryan. Would we use Simon, or did we think it'd work best with 2 captains? And I think the decision overall was, in this day and age, we thought that would be the best fit. So Tom, being vice captain of the red ball team, he would take over that team and the 50 overs, because Simon's away at the 100, and Simon had continued to do T20. And I think energy wise, giving people a bit of a mental break as well from captaincy, because it is a hard job in cricket. The captain has a lot of responsibility, and for them to keep the performances high, we just thought 2 captains is probably the best way to go about it.
In terms of the off season, again, can you give us a little bit of insight what actually goes on in terms of your preparation, the way you work with the coaches, away from the ongoing eyes as such?
Yeah, so season normally finishes end of September, so the lads will do their end of season fitness tests, and then they get about 6-7 weeks off.
So when the actual when everything finishes in September, you put them on a fitness test?
So they have a fitness test to see if they've lost kind of the fitness through the season.
Right, okay.
And then from there, the strength and conditioner physios put together a programme for them. So they'll have 6 or 7 weeks off, come back in mid-November, and then they'll have a fitness programme all the way through to March. So some guys go away and play franchise cricket or Lions, or playing for other teams abroad. The rest of the guys will stay here at Chelmsford, so they'll train Monday to Friday in the gym or the indoor school.
So the players that are away, do you have contact with them?
Yeah. So they'll send in their fitness data. There'll be heart rate monitors and so on. So regular contact with the guys who are away. Some guys are preparing for tournaments, so they might have a little bit of a different programme to someone who's going to go and play in South Africa for 4 or 5 months. So the guys back in Chelmsford will have a little bit of break at Christmas, and then after Christmas normally the cricket stage comes in, so more skills work as well as the fitness, and that's all building up to our pre-season tour, which normally happens early March.
And where are you going this year?
So we go to Abu Dhabi for a couple of weeks, and that'll be more of a training camp, and then we have a week in Sri Lanka, which is the kind of curtain raiser for the season, MCC. And then we have 3 weeks when we get back before our game at Yorkshire. So from March really building up to the Yorkshire game, it's really getting the lads playing cricket, playing outside. Hopefully the weather's good when we get back, and just really gearing up for that first match.
And as you look ahead to the season, obviously there's a lot being said about the amount of cricket that actually gets played. But from a head coach's perspective, what is your views?
It's tough for the
player
players.
Management.
Yeah, it's tough because we've got another competition this year in the 100. There's international cricket going on, so we do ask a lot of the players, physically and mentally. So it's really looking at the schedule, using the squad as well as we can. Trying to keep on top of injuries, resting players at the right time. Certain players playing certain competitions, so it's just a matter of juggling it all together and as you say, trying to manage it as well as you can. Certain elements are guesswork because you're guessing how players are going to perform at certain times, but we've got, I think, good evidence on the players we've got. As you mentioned earlier, we're pretty consistent in the teams we put out, we're pretty consistent with our squad. So it's just really trying to use the old data we've got and the evidence we've got and trying to manage the players as best we can through the year. And
then a prediction for the season?
It's going to be difficult to follow last year, but every coach will probably say we're going to the old cliche, we're going to win every trophy, but we literally do. We try. We really do try and target each competition equally. A lot of people have said we really target the red ball and don't worry about white ball, but it's just we haven't been playing well enough in white ball cricket. So yeah, look, I'd love to.
What emphasis is going to be put on that?
None. As I say, we will target each competition equally. There's chat this year that the 50 over competition is going to be slightly downgraded because of the 100, and it might not be as important. But I can honestly tell you that we'll be going all out to win that competition because it's a trophy for us to win. So, I don't think I could predict in terms of trophies won, but we will, be doing our utmost, as I said, to try and be as successful as we can in each comp.
Perfect. Anthony, really appreciate your time today.
No problem. Thank you.
Fantastic career, and all the best with the coaching coming up and the season ahead.
Thank you.
So Neel Khagram, Cricket Last Stories, Anthony McGrath. Thank you.
Cheers.